like to call the meeting order, and if we all stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Justin Rock.
Here.
David Glade is absent excused. Corinne Dudo.
Here.
Nicole Howard is absent excused. Molly King.
Here.
Marianne Musner.
Here.
Denise Wheeler. Here.
Fair. Are there any changes that need to be done to tonight's agenda?
No, there's no changes.
Consent agenda. Any issues, motions?
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so we're going to move into public comments. This portion is public comments for individuals that wish to speak on non-agenda items, or anybody else that would like to speak on non-agenda items is the time. And you have a 3-minute time limit, sir. Thank you.
You don't have to worry about me, it's fine. Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors.
Good evening.
I'm here to introduce Mark Tanner. He's our new aquatic recreation superintendent. So really important role in the Parks and Recreation Department, sort of second in charge, and we share an office. So we are your brain trust for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Almost said drain.
Drain, pool drain, trust, yeah. Great, good play on words. So excited to have Mark. He comes to us from Umatilla County. His facilities background, he's got some pool experience and some great experience in coaching and youth sports along the way as well. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
You didn't prepare a speech, I don't think, but
No.
any questions for Mark or anything?
Yeah, it's nice to meet all of you. Any questions?
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
I appreciate it. I'm excited. I'd like to see all you at the pool, but
Okay.
We're glad you're here.
You're on.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
He needs help.
Me too. It was very.
Rough crowd tonight, isn't it? All right.
Have to redo that form.
Is there any other individual who'd like to speak? I only see staff members and no community members, so we'll move on. Public hearings. All right, I would like to open the public hearing and ask the city recorder to read the rules of order in its entirety.
The City Council will conduct 2 public hearings this evening. The first is related to approving a procurement ordinance, and the second is related to approving an amendment to the Grande City Code regarding foreclosure language. These rules of order are applicable to both public hearings. These hearings are legislative hearings, therefore councilor ex parte or pre-hearing contact does not apply. Each hearing will proceed as follows. The mayor will open the public hearing and request the staff report. The mayor will then accept public testimony relating to the matter. There's a 3-minute time limit for testimony. The order of testimony this evening will begin with that of proponents, those in favor, followed by opponents, those opposed, and ending with those neutral to the ordinance. The proceedings are being electronically recorded to be converted to written minutes. When testifying, please step to the podium and clearly print your name and address on the speaker sign-in sheet. Please state only your name before addressing the council. Members of the City Council may ask questions of the staff or hearing participants at any time. The mayor will close the public testimony portion of the hearing prior to council deliberation. Subsequent to deliberation, the mayor will close the hearing.
Thank you. Can we have the staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The council conducted a work session on this matter. The city currently operates under the umbrella of the ORSs related to procurement. We have a resolution that identifies specific provisions for the various transactions we'd have, contracting for public services, going out to bid for certain projects of certain sizes. And those are fairly antiquated There have been a number of changes to the Oregon Revised Statutes, most recently as they pertain to purchase authority thresholds for small purchases, intermediate purchases, and large purchases. And so before you, what we have done is we took the League of Oregon Cities Model Procurement Ordinance. We made some adjustments to that document to tailor it to our specific needs for our community. And we are asking that the council consider adopting these as the rules going forward. The effective date of this will be in January, so we'll operate under the current rules until that becomes effective. And then the other element of this is not one of those ordinances that we would put into city code, but this will go on the city's website so that people can refer to it as one of our documents. But this is not going to be in the online code book that we have. Happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Okay, I have a question. Okay, in section 1, in number 1, the purpose, it says promoting impartial and open competition. How do we know that that's being done?
The parameters in the ordinance that talk about how we advertise for bids, that's how we do that. When you look in each section, it talks like for small procurements, those are under $25,000. We don't have to go out and do competitive bidding. For some of the larger items, the up to $250,000 under this ordinance, we look for verbal or written quotes. We want to get 3. If we don't, we document why we didn't, or if it was a sole source, it's the only provider of something. And so when we make those large purchases, there's a file on that procurement, and you can go into that file and you can take a look to see how it was done. And for the larger ones over $250,000, there'll be bid documents, there'll be proposals that have been submitted, and that's all part of the record.
So would people need to come in to see things less than the 250? Or are these online so people can see, or what?
Yeah, it depends on how we're doing them.
Okay.
For example, if we are purchasing a $100,000 pump for the wastewater treatment plant, there are certain vendors that can provide that, so we will actually send solicitations out to them. One of the things that we actually talked about in our directors meeting this morning was creating a web page to list any procurements that we have, because right now we're in the process of doing the request for proposals for the fencing for the impound yard. And because of the price threshold, we'll go out looking for 3 estimates for that. But we talked about the fact that it would be nice if we had a landing spot with a button where you could just put open procurements. And so that's something that we're going to add to the website, just as another way for people to know what we have out there to offer.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Yeah.
And these
Excellent.
items are already budgeted.
Yeah, the threshold talks about, so like for the fencing for the impound lot, the city council took an action to allow the use of funds from the capital line to do that. And so those dollars were budgeted, they weren't specified, but the council specifically identified that as a project to use those dollars for. And within the ordinance, it talks about what to do if something is budgeted based on the dollar threshold, whether it has to come to the council, whether it's city manager or designee. So there's a threshold for each of them. There's a section that talks about how we deal with personal services contracts and at each level. And so it's really nice because if someone comes in and says, how do you pick someone to come in and do thus and so? Or how did you figure out who was going to, how do you do the purchase of police cars? And what we typically do is we look to our local vendors, we look to sometimes a state contract for purchases. Our goal, irregardless of this ordinance, is to be good stewards of the public's funds, to make them go as far as we can. And so it's in our best interest to make sure that we're being very cautious in how we spend money. And competition is good and it's important. And so that's kind of part of the backbone of it. And also to have some rails, if you will, that say, you know, we have this level of authority and then you do this. If it's budgeted, you do this. If it's not budgeted, you do that. And it's all laid out pretty well.
But I was thinking more, which I agree with, and it will take a lot of time off of our plate when
Yeah.
when you bring it here.
Yeah,
But then
there's a number of things that have come, that come before the council simply because of those dollar thresholds.
Right.
You know, a $150,000 pump for the wastewater treatment plant, as an example, even if it's budgeted, if it's above that, it has to come to the city council to approve that. Why?
Right. And we always say it's in the budget, so just do it. However, I think it would be nice if you could let us know that it's, when you're spending that amount, that you just mention it here at the meeting so the public knows that it's a budgeted item that's been spent. That's all I would like.
Yep.
Okay. Just for transparency, so the people know what we're doing.
Yeah, and we'll kind of, I think we'll use some common sense with that. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think that the council really cares about a $90,000 purchase for a maintenance item at the treatment plant. I think the council does care about a paving project. So as an example, one of the things that we're anticipating that you're going to see next month is we're going to go out for our ARPA funds, and we're going to solicit bids on purchases of those materials so that we can get those locked in, show those as obligated, and so you'll see those. We'll probably put them in the consent agenda. You're welcome to pull them out if you'd like. And so, you know, that's one where I don't know that we would highlight the fact to you that we're doing that, because on our monthly report that you get, we identify the major projects that we're doing. So we'll come up with a good balance of what are the things. And then we're also, how often do we provide the council with the financials?
Every quarter.
So also every quarter, you get the financial reports that show what's been spent that quarter.
Right.
And if you see something, you say, hey, what was this $200,000 spent on? You can absolutely reach out. And we'll learn which ones you're interested in knowing about and not.
I have another question. So is the quarterly report, is that available to the public as well?
The financial quarterly
Yeah.
report?
No, we don't really publish that. Well, I think that's actually, we publish ours, but we don't online.
Okay, so it is
On the finance
every quarter?
page.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people want to know exactly where their money's going.
It's not like a detailed link. It shows where our total expenditures were by line item, but not by item per
Yeah,
person.
but it gets what we get, right? It's the same thing that we get. Okay.
I think it's important too, the public has access to it, and they know that we are doing our due diligence and checking on these things, but we budgeted, we've already agreed to it,
Right.
they're going to spend it. Just to let them know we're doing it.
And that's also in the budget as well.
That's right.
So if it's been spent or not spent.
Right. That's all.
Other questions?
All right, no more questions. At this time, we'll invite public testimony from favor, opposition, neutral. I don't see anybody jumping up, so we'll move on. Any more councilor discussion?
Not about that.
Okay. At this time, could the city recorder read the proposed ordinance for the first time by title only?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, establishing the rules and procedures for contracts entered into and purchases made by the city, and repealing Resolution 2, Series 1990, and Resolution 4, Series 1994, and all other ordinances and resolutions or parts of ordinances and resolutions in conflict herewith, and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is continuing to December 4th, 2024, at which time the proposed ordinance is scheduled to be read for a second time by title only and considered and adopted. We do have one more. I would like to open the public hearing and note that the rules of order were already read in their entirety at the beginning of the previous hearing. And with that, can we have the staff report, Robert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is also one of the items that we discussed at your recent work session. And this is the first code amendment that you'll see. You'll recall that we took all of the general ordinances of the city, we put them into a consolidated single document called the city code. And so now when we want to change something, rather than it be the 15-page ordinance like we just saw for the procurement, it can be just a couple of pages where we just go in and we talk about the article, chapter, subsection that we're changing. And what we're looking at doing here, excuse me, is to highlight an authority that already rests with the city under ORS as it pertains to imposing liens and then moving to foreclosure for failure to pay those liens. An example of this could be where you have a significant nuisance property that the city has to go in and spend thousands of dollars to abate that nuisance. The property owner is either unable or unwilling to pay, and so we place a lien on the property. But under this provision, which we already have the authority to do, but we want to highlight in code, is in those circumstances where we think it's in the city's best interest to move through a process to actually foreclose on the property so that we can recover those taxpayers' dollars that have been expended. So that's one of the sections that we're changing. And then the other is just a section where we're removing two words in one section, and it's to remove and personal, where we're talking about real and personal property surplus, where we currently in our requirements, if we have property with a value under 10,000, real or personal property, then we have to go through a little bit more complex process. There's a lot of what was considered personal property that could be, $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000. We really don't feel that it's important for us to go through this same level of process for personal property that we do for real property. And so we're changing that, and then this is actually covered under the procurement ordinance, how we would deal with those sorts of disposals. So they kind of go well together, so we're doing them all at the same time. And I'm happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
I have another question. I'm sorry. Okay, so I know that we let the people know, by letter, certified mail, and so forth, and they have 30 days or whatever to respond before they're taken. So does the 30 days start from the certified mail part? I mean, it wasn't clear in what I read, at least it wasn't to me.
Which section are you looking?
I'm looking at, this is what I marked last time. The amendment to code, section 1. It talks about regular mail, then certified, and then it talks about, there becomes a lien on the property unless it's paid within 30 days of the calendar, 30 calendar days. And I was just wondering, when does that 30 days start? Is it after the certified mail?
If you look at subparagraph B,
Okay.
if the costs of the abatement are not paid within 30 calendar days from the date of the notice.
Okay, so which notice? Would it be the certified one? Probably because it's mailed first and then certified.
We mail it certified and regular mail at the same time.
Oh, at the same time?
That starts the calendar date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was one and then you did it the other. Okay, sorry.
No,
All right.
one of the things that we have experienced is if you send someone a certified letter and they know they're in trouble, they may not answer the door. But they're still going to get their regular mail. And so one of the reasons that we will send it both certified and regular mail is, and they may not be there to receive the certified letter.
Right.
And so we want to take every step that we can in an effort to make sure that they are made aware.
Okay, all right. Okay, that makes sense.
Any more questions for staff? This time, we would like to invite public testimony for those in favor, opposition, neutral. Once again, nobody jumping up? Okay. Any more council discussion? Nope. At this time, could the city recorder read the proposed ordinance for the first time by title only?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, amending Chapter 1, Article 2, Ordinance Enforcement, Section 1-54, Assessment of Costs, and Chapter 2, Article 5, Finance Division 2, Sale of Surplus Real Property, Section 2-151-4, Classification of Real Property, of the Code of Ordinances, City of LaGrande, Oregon, and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is to continue to December 4th, 2024, at which time the proposed ordinance is scheduled to be read a second time by title only and considered for adoption. All right, we have no unfinished business, no new business. Union County Commissioners update. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I don't have much except congratulations to Mayor, Mary Ann,
Ran rigorous.
Ricky Joe Hickey, I believe.
Yeah, we really ran hard.
Yeah. Boy, all your signs and everything around town, and
You better pick them up.
I didn't vote for any of you, just to let you know.
Oh, you're the other.
I don't live in city limits, so
That's why you can't.
I don't get an option to vote for you, but congratulations. You know, I'm glad it's over. Did one unofficially, Jake Sievert. Looks like Jake Sievert will be working with us in January. Very excited for that. And some of the ballot measures I was really worried about in our state. And so I was really thankful that some of them went the other direction. But for county news, I have Representative Levy, Senator Kate Lieber, and Senator Nash will be coming in on Tuesday to tour the fairgrounds, which is super exciting.
At what time?
Not open to the public.
Okay. All right.
I gotta get some work done. So Senator Senator Lieber is the new Senator Steiner, kind of taking her role in Ways and Means. So very, very excited that she's coming to see this. She knows all about the project, but she's never seen it. So we get to show her firsthand, and hopefully this session, it'll happen.
Good for you getting them out here.
That's right.
No, Representative Levy. I'm not going to take the credit, but Representative Levy is getting her out here. And
You've been like,
Yeah, you've been.
yeah, no, everyone knows. And then there's a huge turnover at the Capitol, like I mentioned last month. So when everyone gets settled in January, I'll probably be there at least once a month, February, March, April. And just walking down the halls during Ledge Days last time I was there, everyone's, oh, here he comes again. I'm like, well, give me the money. You know?
Yeah, you might have seen it.
Yes, but, yep, that's coming up. And then I don't have, any questions from anyone? All right. I can't think of anything else. It's just, everything was so election-driven here in the last couple months, and then now we're all gearing up for session. So,
And now we can get to work.
yeah, now it's time to get to work. All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Staff comments. Is there any staff that would like to make comments this evening?
I'll go first while they're thinking about it. Just a quick update. I don't know
Don't
if
you
you
got to go
guys-
up to the dais like everybody else?
No, I have a mic.
Oh, okay.
I have just an update on the ballot measure. I don't know if you guys are aware, but our ballot measure did not pass. So, yeah.
You know, it's interesting, I talked to a lot of people today about it, and they got it confused with the ranked choice.
Ranked choice
They
thing.
really
Yep.
did.
We were discussing that and wondering the same
And
thing.
I said, no, it's not the same, but
Right.
it wasn't clear.
it wasn't.
It wasn't clear, yeah.
My
A lot of
husband
people
even
thought
said
it
that.
was
He
the
said,
rank
I didn't
voting.
understand what they want and how they, I
Yeah.
said, did you read the little piece of paper that went with it? No. Well, I know how he voted because I had told him, but how to vote.
And as an elected official, you can do that.
But anyway, a lot of people said they got confused because they thought of the ranked choice, that they didn't like.
It kind of sounds like it, though, the way that, then that's the reason why.
With the state ballot measure for ranked choice voting on there as well, I can, that's part of what we talked about as we were looking at it. It's like, I bet they didn't understand.
It was interesting because I think Union and maybe Cove already do their council elections in that way. It says pick 3 or
Yeah.
what have you. Yeah, so.
Well, thank you. Mr. Stu?
Hey, Mayor and Council, just wanted to draw your attention to the little memo there on your dais that you found this evening. This is a kind of go ahead, Denise, that's fine.
I read it, and I don't know where I put it, because it was
okay.
loose.
That's fair.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of take a minute to walk you through this a little bit. We have and are still working with the Oregon Water Resources Department at the state level to address potential, what's it called, before I misspeak? High hazard potential, I believe is what the term is, dam that we have at Morgan Lake. So there's a 12-inch conduit pipe that runs between the main dam there that we don't know a lot of information about. That dam is old, right? And we think that conduit was installed when that dam was built in the early 1900s for hydroelectric power. So one of the Oregon Water Resources engineers has been out several times. He's now partially retired, but he was curious about that. We actually exposed the downside, what's it called? The downstream valve. The downstream valve is on the outside of the dam, right? The upstream is inside the water. Probably misspeaking, Kyle. Is that wrong? Okay. So upstream in the water, downstream outside of the water. We actually exposed the downstream side a few years ago. The Public Works Department went up and we went up to explore that with the dam engineers. And we found that there were more mysteries, that we didn't know if that was pressurized or not. We didn't know what it was made of and all those things. So this opportunity presented to us from the State Engineer and Water Resources Dam Safety Program Manager is for Oregon Water Resources to write a FEMA grant for us to explore that material. We, as city staff, recently attended a tabletop emergency response exercise that was sponsored by Union County. The exercise highlighted to local agencies the high hazard potential associated with a breach and the need to do everything we can to mitigate that risk. This project could identify a way to help reduce the risk of such a failure, and city staff all agree that the opportunity will provide another tool and invaluable information to us to address that. We will be putting forth a budget request for your information for about 35% match of that project, which ends up being about a $100,000 project, bringing the city's responsibility to about $35,000. Wanted to make council aware of that grant in partnership with them tonight. And also we're continuing with our other efforts to receive and work on the funding for not only this project, but the completion of a diversion structure that would divert water from a dam failure away from Deal Canyon and the city of La Grande. So, any questions?
So I think I recall, did we have some work done on the dam a few years back?
Not on the dam. There's been a few efforts. A spillway was constructed.
Saddle Dam.
It's when we flooded. It's when we
The
flooded.
Saddle Dam okay, so and that's the one that goes down the west side
That's different.
versus.
Is that different? Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so there's a spillway to the west.
Yep.
The main dam, that's the Saddle Dam, as the city manager points out. There's a spillway to the northwest of that, to the northwest of the northeast of the Saddle Dam. Essentially, the grade was dropped, so if the water level rises to the top, it will provide relief and it will overflow into the spillway and divert water towards the west, which would be what the diversion structure would do. The incident you're talking about, I believe, was maybe 10 or 12 years ago, or not.
It's flooded twice down in our house, so down the creek.
Oh,
so.
you're talking about the storm event. That was not related to Morgan Lake.
Oh, I thought they released a bunch of water from it and that
No.
added to it.
No.
Oh, okay,
No,
sorry.
no.
That's what everybody was talking about.
Oh, no. We don't have the ability to release water from
Okay.
that lake other than pumping it, so.
Okay. All right.
Any questions? It's just ongoing efforts with the partnership with Oregon Water Resources to provide us funding for emergency response, well, not emergency response, but a potential hazard that we have.
So how will we know when we get that?
You'll know, it will come.
It will come, okay.
It will be in the monthly report,
Okay.
or I'll come and announce it.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we need to get this assessed, and, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's another tool that we just don't know a lot about what the dam's made of. We know it's an earthen dam, we know it's old, and we don't know a lot else.
And if it fails, that would be catastrophic.
It's high hazard, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and that's Oregon Water Resources' priority as well as ours, of course. Yeah, for the potential. So, and that tabletop exercise did demonstrate that. And then the other announcement I have is that the pump track's finished. So if you haven't been there or checked it out, I should show photos on the TV, but I wasn't prepared. We'll do a grand opening in the spring. So it's the old BMX track, you know, with the bumps.
Yeah.
It's paved. So it's not exactly like that, it's shorter, but they did some good work. Public Works helped. They had a contractor in town for about 3 weeks. It was a great partnership with the Blue Mountain Single Track Trails Club. City contributed no general fund dollars other than a little bit of staff help. And we received a State Parks local government grant for our portion. So great project, really good community support, easy peasy. They paid all the bills and I'm gonna pay the contractor our portion and it's gonna be great. So the kids have been out, it's been busy already. It's fun.
Awesome.
Fun addition. Anything else for me?
I saw something recently, you're going to be adding to the park, to the one at Riverside. The committee was coming back and adding something else.
Oh, so the committee met recently and that project is funded with all the community donations and the local government grant. However, they wanted to see if they can put more additional benches in and potentially increase the surfacing is not all artificial turf, like that's really accessible for wheelchairs and wheels. It's partially, the bark chips and partially that. So they were thinking if we can raise even more money, then we can make it more accessible and we can have more places for people to sit. So it's sort of icing on the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you are doing a good job.
That project is scheduled for May, so I'm hoping that we'll have a big grand opening for the Riverside project right when school gets out.
And Bernie looks good too, by the way.
Bernie, with the library storybook stuff, yeah. The library's amazing. They do
Yeah.
good work.
Awesome.
Awesome, you're doing a great job. You don't need help, Ron. I'll call you Ron.
Remember your training.
Okay, any other questions for Parks? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stu.
Can I sit here? I also have a mic.
I want Stacy to get away with that. Mr. Mayor, councilors, just a few updates. So if you can't tell, I wore my winter coat. We are in fall. So next week, we're going to start leaf pickup program. I don't know how long it's going to last because we also have it projected to start, getting some mixed rain with snow. So we may be taking the Sanders out next week, which are also prepared. So we're ready for leaf, snow, whatever next week brings. So.
Can you explain the LEAF program so people will know?
Yes, thank you for asking. We actually made a slight change this year. So the LEAF program was put together so that our sweepers go through town and we pick up the leaves that fall from the trees in the street, which keeps from clogging our storm drains. So later in the year, we're not going to have those flooding problems that come along. So traditionally, we've reminded citizens that this program is to remove the leaves that fall in the street. This is not an open invitation for you to push your leaves into the street. And so this year for the announcement, we are also going to add on that if staff or reports are that we find citizens are pushing their leaves in the street, we will not pick up that block. The problem we run into is there are places where we're getting, 2 to 3 foot high mounds of leaves in the gutters. And what that means is our people have to go around the block 3 or 4 times to pick up those leaves. And we have a limited duration that we can get this project done throughout the city. So there are people down the line who are not getting cleaned because people aren't taking care of their leaves. So as a reminder, you can take your leaves to Waste Pro for free. but you are gonna have to pack them up, so. The other one is about a month ago, I got a request to kind of give you a brief overview. We have finished paving for the season. So I know a lot of people are, hey, when's 12th Street just going to start? And hey, where are they paving? So the idea behind the request was generally to give you an idea of what it looks like in comparison to previous years. So prior to the ARPA money and some of the changes we've made through, or we're forced to make through our ODOT funding the last few years, we generally aim to get about a mile of street done. So that's 5,280 feet, maybe about 20 blocks. That was our general year. So far for this paving year, which would be like January 1 through today, we've paved 3.7 miles of streets inside the city. So the city has about roughly 90 miles of streets that we're responsible for. Usually when you're looking at a maintenance program, if we were fully funded, we would hit every street every 20 years. That's usually the general lifespan of an asphalt street. So even as much as we were running paving this year, we're still not hitting, we would want to hit 4.5 miles a year of paving. This year, that was not a funding problem because we had many more streets that we had, utilities in. We just didn't have the manpower to get them. So just as a quick overview. So,
Meaning, like, we didn't have enough staff?
yeah, it's rough. I mean, there's generally about, 8 guys who go around and pave streets. So, and that includes, the cleaning, the regrading, the fixing of potholes before you pave it, the leveling. So there's only so much time that those guys can hit everything. So
Do we need to contract out?
Yeah.
Yep, that's part of the plan. So
With contracting, does it cost more though?
generally speaking, contracting usually costs us at least twice, if not more, if we're going out. So we like to keep as much as we can in-house, but the ARPA funding has put a little additional pressure because there are timelines on it. So
We got to get it done at a
Gotta
certain
get it done.
Well, other issues you've had, those 8 people have other things they have to attend to besides roads,
Yeah.
correct?
correct. So that's also the crew that does all of our sewer construction, our sewer taps, any street maintenance that we can get to, taking care of the right-of-way. They have a lot on their plate.
Are you going to fix the potholes on 12th?
As soon as we can. So, thanks for the question. The holdup on 12th Street is we cannot get water parts. Everybody remembers the supply chain of the COVID days. Well, in the water industry, we're still facing it. So when we replace those water services, we come off the main line and we go to something that we call the setter, which is what brings the water up into your meter. We ordered those 40 weeks ago. We still don't have them. So if I go dig up the street, I can run the line over, but then I'm going to bring the equipment back out a second time. So we keep hoping they'll show up, and we anticipate we're going to be out there this winter digging up the street, and we're sure we're going to be met with cheers and ribbons and parades. But
I just had somebody complain to me, they said that the Taliban could be hiding in some of those potholes and nobody would know it.
Taliban's old news.
A little extreme, but
Yeah,
They're trying to make a point.
that's right.
yeah.
I've also had some complaints about 12th Street. I do like on the website, because they said, when are they gonna do this? So I went on our website and I said, this is what we've done, this is in the plan for this year. So I think that is, thank you for doing that, so people can access that on the
Yeah.
webpage.
And we did get some suggestions through the PITSMAC committee of starting to rotate off the completed projects onto a separate page that show the backlog of what we've done in the last few years, and then extend out the what's coming a little bit further, since, we're building projects for the next few years. So putting them out there so that people can see we're getting there, it's just, it takes a while.
No, I think that's helpful, so.
All right, happy to answer any other questions, but that's all the updates I had.
Don't forget 6th and K.
I don't know what you're talking about, but yes.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
All right. Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you, Kyle. Any other staff comments? Well, thank you for being here. Robert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Speaking of streets and sidewalks and such, I'm not sure if you saw the email I sent out earlier today to kind of give you a heads up. When we were allocating funds, the ARPA funds, we set aside $250,000 for the fair. We're going to be providing that support in a different fashion. We're going to use some TRT dollars, and we're going to use some connection fee waivers to still give the $250,000 worth of support. But we had talked when that resolution was passed, allocating those dollars for ARPA was that if those funds were not used for the fair, that they would go into other paving projects. But what I'm asking you for now is consensus for us to divert that $250,000 to sidewalk projects. We know that we're not going to get the full Safe Routes to School grant that we had applied for. We do think we're going to get some portion of that. But we have identified a number of areas in town where it would be very helpful to have some additional sidewalk. And this would be a good opportunity to use those dollars that were kind of earmarked for something else to work on some of those sidewalks. It would allow us to complete the full amount of work that we would have done if we'd been fully funded with the state Safe Routes for School. And it also allows us to make sure that we get all of those ARPA dollars obligated. And so the intent would be we would do a request for proposals, and then that would be considered by the council at your December meeting. And if you're supportive of that change, please let me know. If you're not supportive of that, we will put it into paving instead. So I'd like some feedback so that we know whether or not we should be doing a request for proposals for sidewalks. And I don't know exactly where we would do what. I just know that it would be $250,000 of work on sidewalks that we would identify as part of the process.
I think it's a great idea.
And
You know,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's a great idea because, you know, we've had quite a few citizens come up here and speak about the sidewalks, so I think it's a great place for money to go, and I think it'll help the community quite a bit. So I'm definitely for it, Robert.
In that email, it didn't say how it would affect the fairground.
Yeah.
Can we
Not at
get a,
all. Not at all. Has zero impact.
It's just taking the money temporarily to use.
Yeah, we had.
oh, so it's just temporarily, but we'll still.
No, so when we first allocated the dollars, the ARPA dollars, there was a $250,000 set aside to assist the fairgrounds with
Right.
their water and sewer
Right.
project. And we then came back and said, you know, we have $119,000 of transient lodging tax money that we have to use for tourism promotion, tourism-related facilities that's available that we could use instead of ARPA funding, which would free up $119,000 that could go into additional paving projects. We also talked about there's some fairly significant connection fees associated with extending those services out there to serve the fairgrounds. And it would not cost us any money to waive a portion of those fees. So the city council was supportive of, in lieu of giving the fairgrounds money that they would then turn around and give back to us to pay for connection fees,
Oh, okay.
it would free up the full $250,000 that could go into paving. So there's no impact at all to the fairgrounds project. There's still $250,000 of commitment from the city, which I know Matt will use when he's doing his little walking tour here shortly. But what we're saying at the staff level is we see a need for some sidewalk projects. This is an opportunity to do it, and will also help us with obligating those ARPA dollars. Because remember, one of the challenges that we had with the timing of the ARPA funds was ODOT came in and said, you have to use all of this money for paving, and that completely changed our timeline for a lot of our paving projects. And so now we're really kind of up against it to get all of those dollars obligated.
How much does that cover in making sidewalks? How far does that go? How many,
It really depends upon what needs to be done at that section.
the
And-
prep work for it? And
Yeah, and it's, are you going around the corner? There's a lot of factors that go into that in terms of, you know, is there a storm drain there that you have to do in
will you
conjunction with it?
determine that to see how far you can spread the dollars out to for?
I think the way that we would structure the request for proposal would be, you know, what is your cost for concrete? What is your cost for labor? Because what we end up doing with it will be the same. We just want to go with the lowest price contractor to do it, get that as a commitment so we can identify that as obligated. The council would approve that. And then and that would be one, Mary Ann, where we would come back and say, here is what we're doing with those dollars specifically.
I think it's a great
Ju-
idea.
Just in addition, the city hired a consultant in 2020 to do a Safe Routes to School infrastructure plan. So we already have, that work has already been done of the priority areas and the trouble areas for sidewalks. So it's a plan that we have on our website. Kyle and I are intimately involved with it, with our involvement with Safe Routes. So that's the good news. We're already shovel ready, if you will.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Robert, I fully support this. Do we need to do a budget amendment
No.
for that amount?
We do not.
Because we're switching it?
What's that?
Because we're switching where it goes, or is it not?
It'll come out of the ARPA fund line, which is budgeted.
Okay.
And that would be one that would be expended out of this fiscal year's budget. Some of the stuff that we're gonna obligate in December for materials for paving, we'll commit those, but the timing of that can be up to December of 2026. So what we'll do is we'll lock in those materials orders, and then, so that will actually be done for a couple of budget years. But those ARPA dollars are restricted to those uses. I think we've got $1.5 million or so in the current year's budget. And so we know that some of that will be in the next year's budget for completion.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, no impact to budget at all in that regard.
Good idea, the way to spend the money.
Okay, we'll move forward with that. So Kyle knows what to do now. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Counselor, anybody want to make any comments?
I just wanted to say that we had a great, safe Halloween downtown. I swear there were more kids than we had. Our car club came down, we had 1,500 candy, and they were out by 5:30.
Oh, wow.
So it was just, it was really crowded.
It was,
I
And
think
then
it's a great program.
then the Thatcher, what is it, the Ace store, the Christmas parade will be on the it's on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, I don't remember the date.
The
28th
29th?
or 29th?
29th, Thanksgiving's 28th, so 28th.
Okay, the 29th, downtown. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to remember all the way. Okay. So they are sponsoring the holiday parade this year.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Anybody else? All right, I do have one proclamation I do want to read. I actually brought this one up, or asked the city recorder to bring this one up for me because I feel very strong, and I'm just going to go through and read it. Usually I just do the little short piece, but there's a part I do really want to read through it. Since 1999, the 11th day of the 11th month has came to be a time to recognize the contributions made by millions of men and women who answer our nation's call to arms in pursuit of the world's peace, and Veterans Day is a time for Americans to unite, respect their gratitude for the courage, dedication, and sacrifice of our veterans, and to acknowledge the profound impact they have had on securing the freedoms and values we hold dear. And it is our solemn duty as a grateful nation to ensure that our veterans receive the support, recognition, and care they have rightfully earned through the service and sacrifice, and to pay tribute to our veterans' recognition, their valor, dedication, and their endured legacy they have left and shape our nation's history and future. I, Justin Rock, Mayor of the City of LaGrande, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2024 to be Veterans Day in the City of LaGrande, Oregon. The City of LaGrande encourages all citizens to join in, recognize the valor and commitment of our veterans, and to participate in events and activities that honor their service. Thank you. And with that, I will adjourn.
Say that it's a